Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
You're listening to Eddie Frederick, where good values make great radio.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful. Welcome to Edification 306. Of course, the 7th for 2026 as February marches on. Today's sharing plans to be hot. So charge up your fans and your ACs or sit with a really cold drink so that you do not suffer from a heat stroke. As soon as you enter the room today, remember, folks, share, comment, like, love, follow, subscribe, do whatever you do best. We have a lot in store for you with our very revealing topic, which is taken from the late, great Booker T. Washington. Truth does not bend to popularity, and morality is not decided by numbers. And we should all say thank God for that. You see, here is my comprehensive delivery for today, delivered in the unfiltered, vintage Eddie style frankness overload. This is designed with a no-holds-barred approach to the philosophy of Booker T. Washington into a scathing critique of modern society. I'm sure you will find it as indeed the naked truth. So let's just look at today's topic in bite sizes, one hefty piece at a time. The tyranny of the majority. Why 100 million people can be dead wrong. Folks, I am sure you will find my tone today a tad bit more confrontational, intellectual, a bit darkly humorous, but generally you'll find it unapologetic. It's my hope and prayer that it stimulates an interest in our several mental and intellectual midgets to take a serious look at themselves with a view to tending to their personal growth. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A man stands up in a crowded theater, points at the emperor and says, "Excuse me, sir, but you have no clothes on." The crowd looks at the emperor. Then they look at the man. And because there are 10,000 people in that theater, and only one man chose to point out, they decide the man is the problem. He's causing a disturbance. He's divisive. He's negative. So they kick him out. They cover him in tar and feathers on the way out. And they go back to applauding the naked emperor. We lived through this for all of 1995 to 2022 for the most part. And that heralded in the beginning of the end times for our people who find themselves struggling to meaningfully celebrate national independence 52 years on. The message with the seriously truthful message here has always been murdered. The messenger just gets murdered all the time, while the crowd remains jubilant over the lies. That, goodly folks, is the 21st century in a nutshell. We are living through the absolute tyranny of consensus. We have decided that if enough people believe the lie becomes true. And if you refuse to clap for the lie, you are public enemy to be sidelined and scorned. But all I do is invite you to become interested in being sidelined and scorned. Even though in some quarters, you will have earned those same people's fear whenever you are around them. But you know what? Both the people who despise you and love you for the same reason, guess what? Both respect you to the max. Your consistency and courage to be who you are eventually wins converts when people finally start to see the light. What has happened there is that you got to that place ahead of them because some people are slower than others. Today we are weaponizing a quote from Booker T. Washington. He said, "Truth does not bend to popularity, and morality is not decided by numbers." So we're going to sit in that quote for a little, because right now we are drowning in a society that believes the exact opposite. A large swath of our people has been taught that if a lie is repeated often enough, loudly enough, by enough people, especially if those said people pose as Christians, oh my God, or even by the right celebrity, it becomes fact. And here is a specific rut that we want to cut out today. It's not just that people lie, you know. It is that the truth teller is now the villain. If you bring receipts, if you bring data, if you bring historical context that contradict the narrative of the mob, you are immediately attacked. As I will always say, there is a bullet in a breech ready to be shot at you. For what? For shedding light on anything that dishonest people put themselves out to believe. So let's get uncomfortable. Look around while I speak here today to see who gets uncomfortable in your space by all that I share here today. Let's examine why we are bowing at the altar of likes and treating morality like a scoreboard. But let us start with this here for a minute, folks. Let's start with this. Amid growing concerns over the spread of misinformation, a Roman Catholic priest in St. Lucia has reminded media practitioners of their duty to serve the truth rather than chase trends. The remarks were made during the funeral service of DBS's Lisa Joseph, who passed away on January 6, 2026. As colleagues and loved ones reflected on her contribution to journalism in St. Lucia. Taking this report, this DBS News World report by Amanda King. And you'll tell me. Let's just get it queued up here.
Father Aaron Albert Smith has issued a full warning to journalists and media workers, calling on them to follow proper reporting guidelines rooted in truth, integrity, and unbiased storytelling. He cautioned against sensationalism, urging reporters to seek public trust.
What you choose to report, how you choose to report it, and what you choose to ignore all carry moral weight. Journalism is not just a job, it is a public trust. Journalism is not just a job, it is a public trust. And you are carrying that trust, the trust of the people of St. Lucia.
Father Albert acknowledged that today's media environment may seem to favor and reward silence, rumors, and untruths, but stressed that journalists must choose integrity over convenience, honesty over popularity, and courage over comfort. In stressing that values cannot be postponed, the religious leader also called for more substance in media content.
When truth is compromised for ratings, for politics, for popularity, or personal security, society pays the price. When facts are replaced with half-truths, with rumors or sensationalism, trust erodes. When journalists becomes entertainers rather than truth tellers, democracy weakens and communities fracture.
Drawing parallels to Christian teachings, the controversial priest noted that the Bible guides not only personal lives, but professional conduct, reminding journalists that their work shape who they become, not just what they publish.
Journalists and media workers, your work is not neutral. It cannot be neutral. Your words shape minds. Many people follow many radio stations and television stations. Be careful what you put out there. Your words influence values. Are we still a Christian nation? What values do we stand for? Who are we as a people? The media has a great role in shaping who we are and who we become.
Father Albert's message is clear. Journalism is a public service, not a performance. And while catchy headlines may grab attention, it's truth and integrity that keep it. For the DBS News World, I am Amanda King.
All right, folks, there you have it. We have become so absorbed by the nonsense passing itself off as news these days that some of you proceed to be suckers for punishment and position yourselves each day to say you're listening to the news without realizing you are listening to conditioning, brainwashing. When you are finished, you're wired to think a certain way by people who are most times more challenged than you are in the quadrant of understanding. Sad, you know. Look at what we have here passing off as journalists. Langai waje, they talk, you know what that is? Bush language. I don't look at no news at all. As a matter of fact, the best news in Grenada, I should say, when I have time, and of course, my dear friend Hamlet Mark sends it for me, sends, you know, the links for me, is WPTS 10 channel, his particular news. Everything else is hogwash, rubbish. Of course, Power, you know, Power is a music station. And when I'm on the road, it's so lovely and delightful to get their snippets properly presented, succinctly written and put together. But everything else is just a bundle of nonsense. Total nonsense. And what does that say for the journalists? It doesn't say much, but it's as if this St. Lucian priest is talking to us here too. Folks, things have deteriorated. Things have deteriorated. But I want to define something, folks, I call the inverted world. In a sane society, if someone lies, they are embarrassed. They apologize or they are punished, right? In our world today, a person who exposes a lie is the one who is expected by the challenged thinkers whose morals have been screwed up over the years to apologize. Something had to be wrong with that. We see this in politics, right here in Grenada between 1995 and 2022 for the most part, in particular. We see this in show business, and we definitely see this in the corporate world. But let's zoom out. Why does this happen? Because a lie is usually very comfortable, sorry. But the truth, it presents a lot of discomfort. The truth makes people uncomfortable. And folks, I tell you already, you know, because I'm not looking for friends, I am willing to share it. Who vex, read the text. You see, Booker T. Washington knew this intimately. This was a man born into slavery who rose to become one of the most influential educators in American history. He was constantly attacked. He was called an accommodationist by some, a troublemaker by others. He was threatened by mobs who didn't want Black people to learn to read. He didn't have the luxury of Twitter polls to decide if gravity was real. He dealt with facts on the ground. You see, he didn't have time for consensus reality. He knew that whether 10 people think you can fly or 10 million people think you can fly, the concrete doesn't care about your feelings when you jump off the roof. You see, truth is stubborn. Truth is heavy. You can't vote it away or wish it away. Yet we try. We try so hard. We form clubs. We form hashtags. We form entire media ecosystems designed to protect us from the discomfort of reality. But here's the hard pill to swallow. The majority doesn't just get things wrong sometimes. The majority is usually wrong when it comes to innovation, justice, and morality. At one point, the majority thought the sun revolved around the earth. At one point, the majority in the Western world thought chattel slavery was a moral good. At one point, the majority thought women shouldn't vote and shouldn't work for as much as men. And in each of those cases, the people who said this is wrong were vilified. They were burnt at the stake. They were beaten. They were cancelled and otherwise unalived. You see, cancel culture isn't new. They just used to use actual fire instead of algorithm shadow bans. You see, grim but accurate. The point is, you see, the moral arc of the universe does not bend towards popularity. It bends towards truth. But someone has to do the heavy bending. Someone has to be the hinge. And that hinge gets all the friction. But what about the fat cat reflex? Let's get into the meat of this. The prompt for this edition mentioned fat cat inclination of wealth accumulation, and how, when put under the microscope, these figures, these fat cat figures, they tremble and respond with a most gruesome defense. They say you envy them. You're just jealous. They say you're just bad-minded. But who's speaking? A lot of those people who are too shallow for any proper notice to be taken of them. You see, many people get mad at you when you find out about their shady actions. Deep thinking people whose very depth is buttressed by the peace they dwell in and the comfort they have reached in themselves, they look at three things in a person. You know what they look for? Intelligence, energy, and integrity. And if they don't have integrity, they never bother with them if they only have the other two. Isn't that interesting? Someone once said, he hates a liar more than a thief. I tried to figure out what he meant. But he said, you know, the thief is only after his money. But the liar is after his reality. This is the importance of integrity and honesty in the pursuit of success. A thief may rob you of material possessions, something that can be earned back with time and effort. But a liar, oh man, they distort your perception, undermine your reality, and can lead you astray from your goals and dreams. So folks, be prepared to put in the hard work, which is built on a foundation of trust. Trust in yourself. You see, integrity is telling yourself the truth, while honesty is telling the truth to other people. I love this because we need to differentiate. There are two types of liars, you know, folks. There's the guy on the street corner who says he saw a UFO. He's just unconventional. Then there is the institutional liar, the person who profits from the lie, like the Alibaba and his 14 thieves we had around the precincts of leadership here for so goddamn long. You see, who lies about their intention being about you? But we've seen that to be a lie. Their intention was never about you. Their intention was to capture you, put you on the vote farm, leave you there to rot so that they can prosper. That is what that lie was about. That is what that lie was. You see, the person who lies on their resume to make themselves look good, forgetting that they can be easily found out. Folks, listen to me carefully. There is a woman who, I think she stopped doing that now, thank heavens. But years ago, used to tell people she was the vice president of a large financial institution in North America, only to be found out was a low-grade typist in the typing pool of that said institution. Why would someone in these days of Google stand so boldly and brazenly and utter such garbage? Well, you see, she lost me from the time she uttered such rot. As my discernment kicked in and I got to work, as I knew the lead vice president in that institution back then, questioned him and had my discerning spirit satisfied. The woman is still around spouting that nonsense on a limited basis for all the fools who would listen to her. She has what you can consider fat cat syndrome. And everybody knows what a fat cat is. Oh, Jesus, we have quite a few. They mushroomed between 1995 and 2022 for the most part. Goodly folks, the system is rigged. Rigged to protect rich liars, wealthy liars. Why? Because the wealthy liar controls the microphone. They control the printing press. They control the studio. They control the mental midgets posing as journalists. If you question an oil company executive about pollution, he doesn't just debate you on the science. He spends $20 million on an ad campaign telling you that you hate your country and you hate jobs because you don't like poor people. It's the gruesome defense that they head to. It's never just a defense of the facts. It is an immediate attempt at the decapitating strike against the questioner's character. Right? Watch what happens when you question a modern corporation or a public figure of significant wealth. You don't get a rebuttal. You get a character assassination. You're not someone who disagrees. You're a hater. You're bitter. You're jealous of their success. You're divisive. Folks, my ordinary mother brought us up, and some of the pearls of wisdom she shared with us. She says, do not envy anybody and what they have, because you don't know the process. Go do your research. And when you find out how they reach to be where they are, if you like to envy, envy the whole process. If their teeth, envy that. And if they worked hard, envy that too. I never forget that. And that is one of the reasons when I see people, I wish them well. Because you know what they say, it all comes out in the wash eventually. Folks, when people try to see if they could project on you, it's what you call a deflection tactic. And it works because it plays into the mob mentality. The mob who don't pay attention. The dotish dunce mob. If you can paint the truth teller as an outsider, as a jerk, or someone who doesn't play nice, if you can discredit them to the suckers for gossip, the mob turns on them and you win. Let's take a hypothetical, folks. Let's say there's a massive pharmaceutical company. They release a drug. The internal documents show they knew it had a fatal side effect, but they buried that particular data. A whistleblower comes out. Now, in a just world, we investigate the drug. But in our world today, oh no, the company immediately leaks to the press that the whistleblower had a messy divorce. or that they were fired from their last job for attitude problems. They don't address the blood on their hands. They address the tone of the person pointing out the blood. This is the fat cat reflex. It's an instinct. It's like an octopus releasing ink. When you grab them, they cloud the water so you can't see them escape. The ink is slander. The ink is PR campaigns. The ink is threats of lawsuits. The ink is the victim card of their mental health being messed with. And here's the tragedy. The octopus usually gets away. You see, the whistleblower is ruined. The truth is delayed for another 5, 10 years. The fat cat dies rich and praised at his funeral. But the truth, mind you folks, thank God, is still there, you know. The truth didn't bend, it waited. It waited for the next person brave enough to pick it up. Folks, I really don't care what anyone thinks or says about me, but I will blow the whistle till I'm dead. I will sing the song till I'm dead. I will ring the bell from the mountaintop, regardless of the reactions of others. In fact, I've already declared that I'm not on the market for friends because I am not into associating with any people salad. Grenada produces for you a people salad. A lot of people call the people they have around them friends, not realizing it's just a people salad they have around them. I choose well, and my choosing is deliberate. My circle or line of friends is, let me give you a nice little Spanish word here, pequeño, very, very small. And I remain awake always. Just yesterday, one of those chosen ones visited me. Oh man, it was so, if you could have felt the vibes between us, you would realize how I choose carefully. And why do I choose? While I'm choosing, they're choosing too. I chose and I was chosen back. We have each other's back. That's what friendship is. That's a brother that comes from another mother. That's a friend. And you see what they say? Sincere friends, folks, are the family you choose. Truth does not bend to popularity, and morality is not decided by numbers. So let's take a little break here, and we come back right back with some more. I have a lot more where that came from. So let's do what we do best here today, folks. It's going to be a lot. So let's do it.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
It was so interesting. I've just seen Andrea St. Bernard here making a nice comment to Dr. Jocelyn Peters. Of course, saying very small, most of them more than 40 years of friendship. That is me. I have one friend, our friendship is 58 years. I have another one, I know him since he born, and he's 57 years. Since he born. And you know what is interesting? There was no distance between us in terms of our growth, our trajectory in life. Because you know, when there is distance, and you refuse to grow, you get left. But when we grow, it becomes a nice match. There's one I met some years ago, I would say as long as 19 years. And from the time I met this friend, we clicked. And he became a mentee. And he's today exceedingly successful. Exceedingly successful. Friendship. I tell you folks, this thing is not easy. You all just pick people and have a set of people salad around you, and every day is a bacchanal, every day is a tebe, every day is a when people come with them kind of thing, you have to drop them, give them distance. This kind of thing is too popular in life, folks. Too popular. And Grenada seems to be a factory for wrong people. Most of the people seem to be wired wrong up here. They are intellectual and mental midgets, and they're coming to you with that short thinking rubbish. Folks, I always say, the gossiper will find no business if he does not have a receiver for his gossip. He'll be out of business. So for you to sit and receive it, you're just as bad. And people could tell you, I don't want no gossip around me. It's choppiness, nonsense. How does that pay my rent, my mortgage, put gas in my car? How does it put food in my pot to cook? How does it put a shilling in my hand and sugar in my pan? Joke you're making. I'm not interested in people's business and people's affairs. But that's what we have here. And all these people with that kind of willy mind could vote. You see how the country does it? Look, 52 years on. You're jumping up every January, 15 January to 15 February is like clown season open. Everybody look like a clown. Dress up, dress up, dress up. But you don't see it in their actions. They don't believe in no Grenada. Everything they do is to try to see if they could siphon from Grenada. Nothing structured, nothing with order, nothing with level and quality. Everything is just all mediocre. Anything goes. You go into a store, you see somebody, you have any more tamban ball, girl? I want you to bring yesterday, the nice, eh? And that person walk in. When you start to talk to them as a customer now, you could see you disturbing them because they didn't come here to deal with you. They come there to deal with one another. And that goes on all the time ad nauseum. And where's the owner or the manager of the store? Right there. In the conversation with them too. A lot of these places need burning. Because they don't care. They don't care. You see, I tell you, look at how brave I am to be talking like that. I don't want a friend. This is stupidness, nonsense. So let them talk. Folks, we've talked about the liar. So let's talk about the audience now. Because the liar only wins if the crowd applauds. Why do people applaud? Safety in numbers, you see. There is a profound, deep-seated terror in being the only one standing. We are tribal animals. To be cast out from the tribe historically meant death. So, our lizard brain screams, just a greener man, just nod now. Don't make waves. You have a mortgage or rent to pay, you know. Not me. Hell no. I thrive on waves. The controversy drives me. I recall a certain foreign investor once told me, when I listen to you, I realize you get a rush from controversy. I said, you are so correct. Imagine a man just reaching Grenada. He could pick that up already. Social media has weaponized this tribal instinct. It has created a system where your tribe is watching you 24/7. If you deviate from the party line, you are excommunicated instantly. The mob doesn't need to be physically violent anymore. No, they just need to signal to your employer, your clients, or your collaborators that you are dangerous. The other day, someone called me asking for my help, my professional help. A friend, mind you, very, very, one of my people in my line, not my circle, because I no circle. If the line not long enough to go wrong, it's a line. Eds, I want you to help me with this situation. I have an applicant for a position. I've interviewed this applicant about 2 times already. Is there any way you could spend a 15, 20 minutes with us and so I could make a final determination with this third? I said, sure. So I went. But before, I had a little junket, a little chat with that person before we went into the room to discuss with the actual person, the applicant. And they started telling me the things they started to hear about the person, and they're going on and on and on. And I said, what is your first reaction to all that you hear? I say, I like that person. I like that person already. Because for people to be putting themselves out to tell you so much, this person is a threat, a serious threat, a threat to them. I say, so let's go in. Oh, some questions were asked and whatnot. Without the person knowing that I know anything, I'm asking some questions that are going to bring out certain things that we need so that my friend can make the decision. The friend just look at me and say, I learned, boy, you're good. You're good, all right. And hired the person right there in my presence. The person is doing a great job. Who are these breadfruit head? These cuckoo head, according to somebody here, telling this person about all of that. Who are these people? What is their level to be advising you about somebody that you must have your own experience with? That's how we are here, folks. The mob mentality. You see? What makes them dangerous? You see, they cannot think for themselves. So let me give you a raw analogy. Truth is like a mirror, folks. Most people don't want to look in the mirror because they might not like what they see. It's easier to smash the mirror than to fix your hair. Oh, yes. In the same way, it is easier to project who you really are onto someone else than to settle down and fix who you are. You see, we're living in an age of mirror smashing. Every day someone is smashing a mirror because they don't like the reflection they witness firsthand. And the people holding the mirrors are the ones getting harassed and called all sorts of names for what their targets consider and categorizes as hate speech. But in the meantime, we have to ask, where are our journalists? Where are our scientists? Where are our honest accountants to investigate and ratify what is being said by truth tellers? You see, many of them the world over are themselves absorbed by the wrong side of life, and others are just prepared to be silent under the guise that they are batting in their crease. Booker T. Washington said, morality is not decided by numbers. Let that sink in. If 51% of the population votes to take away the rights of the other 49%, is that moral? Legally, maybe for a day, but morally, hell no. That is precisely why we are able to see why something that is legal isn't necessarily moral. You see, morality isn't a vote. It is a standard. It is a plumb line. You hold it up against the wall, and if the wall is crooked, the plumb line doesn't move. But the wall is crooked. We have too many crooked walls in Grenada and too few plumb lines willing to show them up as crooked. We have confused democracy with morality. We think that because something is popular, it is right. We think that because a YouTube video has 100 million views, it must be true. TikTok does not determine ontology, which is, of course, the philosophical study of being. Instagram reels do not determine what is real. Reality is determined by evidence, by repeatable observation, by logic. I still dwell in that realm, and not in the realm of fakeness and make-believe. I have the courage to call it as I see it, based on the strong values I have been cultured with. It takes courage to look at 100 million views and say, this is garbage, and then unsee it and move on. So we've diagnosed the disease. But the disease is that we worship consensus. How do we cure it? Not for society. Society might be too far gone for a total cure in the time that I have got to deliver this particular podcast today. But for the individual listening to this, hello, you have to accept the cost. Truth-telling is expensive. I can tell you that for a fact. I wish I could tell people it feels good all the time. Oh, no, it doesn't. It feels lonely. It feels scary. You will lose people that you thought were friends, but who were in reality undercover haters. That's why it was so easy to lose them in the first place. You might lose income. You will certainly lose the comfort of going along to get along. I will always prefer to be alone and enjoy my own company than to aid and abet crooks, con men, fat cats, and the despicables of society, of which Grenada has plenty. But you gain something else, folks. You gain integrity. You gain the ability to sleep at night. You gain the respect of the few people who matter, the other truth tellers. You see, there's a quote often misattributed to Churchill, Winston Churchill. It goes like this, quote, "You have enemies? Good. That means you stood up for something, unquote. I think about that a lot. If you are telling the truth, especially about powerful interests, you will have enemies. And you see dotish, dunce, prune-head people that believe what they could see without recognizing that what you see there as a finished product has a story that you probably don't know nothing about. But who's speaking brave enough to raise objections knows what they are objecting to. But you have to criticize the truth teller. The goal in life, folks, isn't to have no enemies. The goal is to have enemies for the right reasons. If you are being attacked by liars and thieves, you are probably on the right track. Folks, I know that I am on the right track when I see how many liars and thieves have to attack me via fake profiles. What they do not know is that they fuel me even more. Isn't that interesting? Because while they have to make things up, I come with it. So let's circle back to Booker T. Washington's thought. He didn't have a podcast, you know, folks. He didn't have a subtract. He had a school. He had students. He planted seeds. He didn't need approval of the mob. He needed the soil to be fertile. That's the long game. Truth doesn't need to win today, folks. And because truth is everlasting, it always outlasts the lie. Lies are exhausting to maintain. You have to keep track of which lie you told to which person. But you know, truth just sits there waiting. Look at how many truths caught up with the old nastiness over time. He was there for such a long time. Lie, 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 lie. Today you find young people who are very much technologically savvy, digging up all the lies and matching them with the things he's trying to say today. Using him to distort him. Sad, because you see the truth is constant. So if you're out there and you feel crazy because everyone else is screaming that the emperor's clothes are designer, and you're the only one who sees the nakedness, take a breath. You're not crazy. You're just early to point it out. I have been early since 1996, singing the same consistent song over the years and thanking my God that I lived long enough to see the truth outlast all the lies, because the universe got tired of the same old dishonesty coming from its source and had to put it in check when a worthy replacement showed up. We've spent some serious time being negative about the mobsters and the able mob. Let's end on the antidote. You see, the antidote is stillness. The truth doesn't need a PR agent. It doesn't need a spin doctor. It just needs you to not lie. Just stop lying. Stop lying to others. Stop lying to yourself. In fact, the greatest lie you can tell is to yourself, because if you cannot be honest to and with yourself, you cannot be honest with others either. If you stop lying, you break the chain. You opt out of the game. You refuse to participate in the fiction. Booker T. Washington said, character, not circumstances, makes the man. Your character is not determined by how many people agree with you. It's determined by how you act when no one is watching. And truth is on the line. So the assignment going forward, folks, find one truth you've been avoiding. Maybe it's about your job. Maybe it's about your relationship. Maybe it's about your own bad habits. Stop hiding from it. Name it. Don't try to convince anyone else yet. Just admit it to yourself, feel how heavy it is, and then realize that carrying that weight is lighter than carrying the lie. The majority will always chase the shiny object. The majority will always chase the easy answer. But the majority doesn't build cathedrals. The majority doesn't cure disease. The majority does not free the enslaved. That is done by the minority. The ones who look at the popular lie and say, no, I will not bend. Stop clapping for the naked emperor. Put your hand down. Look away from the screen. Look at the evidence and stand firm. Remember, truth does not bend to popularity. Neither should you. Stop listening to fake people who saying they have prayer group and prayer meeting and prayer this and prayer that. And when you check their bloody lives, they're a bloody mess. Truth does not bend to popularity, folks. And morality is not decided by numbers. Let's take a little break and we come back with some more.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. We have some more excitement coming up. So keep your clothes on. Keep your clothes on. Folks, not for the life of me can I understand why educationally challenged societies continue to deliver fat cats who most times cannot account for their wealth that they flaunt and end up being foolishly celebrated as genuinely successful. I can't understand that. Is this partly because people generally refuse to pay attention, or is it because they too are inclined to be that way themselves? Let's seek to examine this today without being too pointed, but allowing you to start to open your goddamn eyes to the fat cats of our society. Pay attention hereafter, please, to the people you hear running me down after this. Because either they have fat cats as relatives, children, siblings, parents, friends, mentors, or they themselves may just be a fat cat. This is a sharp and uncomfortable question, as it gets to something genuine, the disconnect between visible wealth and the legitimacy of how it was acquired, and why societies often celebrate the former while ignoring the latter. My advice up from, to you here is to never waste your time. Never waste your time envying anyone whose wealth accumulation you cannot account for. To begin with, it's not your business. Always wish them well, remembering, as I said earlier, it all comes out in the wash eventually. One way to think about this is that many societies operate on a distinction between being rich and being deserving. In principle, these should be connected. In practice, they often are not. Yet the social reward, admiration, status, the assumption of competence frequently flows to the wealth itself, not to the process that produced it. This isn't necessarily hypocrisy. Oh no. It's more that wealth functions as a powerful, intuitive signal. Humans are wired to infer capability from visible action, especially when the mechanisms behind that success are opaque or deliberately obscured. The educationally challenged part of today's question is key. A society with weak educational foundations, or one where education is credentialist rather than genuinely critical, produces citizens who are less equipped to ask certain kinds of questions. Where did this money come from? What laws or loopholes enabled it? Who was presiding over a faulty system, offering total protection to ensure that you get through? What social costs were externalized? When these questions aren't routinely asked in schools, public discourse, or even in journalism, the default is to treat wealth as self-validating. I ask these questions, and because of my expanse of knowledge and thus awareness of a myriad of things, he who sees too much ends up not being able to fit in just anywhere. You remember that? That's why I can't fit in, because I don't line with crooks. I don't line with thieves. I don't line with double-edged swords. I don't line with self-seekers. Once you have these defects, keep away from me. Otherwise, I will run you. As for whether people refuse to pay attention or are inclined to be that way themselves, it's probably a mix of both, but not in a crude, cynical sense. You see, many people aren't indifferent to fairness. They're just cognitively overloaded. Following the paper trail of opaque wealth requires time, expertise, and access. Most people are busy surviving, so they rely on heuristics, that mental shortcuts, that can lead them to a conclusion. That is flashy cars, philanthropy, media profiles, and those heuristics are often manufactured by the very people being evaluated. There's also an aspirational dimension. In deeply unequal societies, wealth can seem like the only reliable form of security or freedom. Critiquing how someone got rich can feel like critiquing the dream itself. So people tolerate or even celebrate fat cats, not because they fully approve, but because condemning them would mean condemning the only viable model of success that they can see and therefore relate to. What I'm describing here isn't just a failure of education. It's a failure of accountability infrastructure, weak institutions, captured regulators, captured regulators, and celebratory media culture. Education alone can't fix that. But an education that teaches how to read power, not just how to work within it, would make it much harder for those figures to pass as genuinely successful. Folks, confident people know who they are. Ego-driven people need everyone else to know it too. You see, confidence will listen while ego interrupts. Confidence lifts others up because it is not threatened. Ego will tear other people down just to feel taller. Confidence is grounded in truth, whereas ego is addicted to perception. So when you are confident, you act because it matters, because it is important to you. Because when it's ego, you act because you have a need to be seen by someone else. Confident people are always seeking growth. Ego-driven people are always seeking control. As you can see, true confidence comes from self-awareness, whereas ego is insecurity dressing up as strength. Generous people who have tried time and time again to help others, only to realize these same people like their problems. In spite of how much advice you give to such people or how much grace you extend, they don't want solutions. They want sympathy because they are addicted to struggle. So they don't even know themselves without chaos. Peace feels foreign to them. Some people without structure and order in their lives are pretty similar. An orderly and structured person is very intimidating to them. Chaotic people pray for blessings and run back to the things that blocked these same blessings they prayed for. They ask for better friends and they sabotage the ones who live right by them. They sabotage them. Isn't that something? Or how could you ask for better friends and you're sabotaging the people who are loving you correctly? When you hold them accountable, all of a sudden you are judgmental. Not because you are wrong, but because growth requires work that they're not willing to do. You cannot help some people who are offended by accountability. Hell no. That is not your assignment. Sometimes love looks like stepping back and letting God deal with them. If they love their problems, no amount of advice, prayer, or presence can fix what their mind keeps breaking. God knows we live with a lot of them among us. We have them in our homes as part of our families, in our workplaces as part of our workmates, in our clubs, on the streets, in the church, everywhere. Folks, Proverbs 9:8-9 tells us, quote, "Do not rebuke a mocker, or he will hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. Instruct a wise man, and he will be wiser still. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning," unquote. How many people fall into either category? I am sure if you're honest, you will agree that one is overloaded while the other has few who can fit its description. Machiavelli said, the first method to estimate the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men and women he has around him. If a man surrounds himself with flatterers, cowards, and people who only agree with him, he is not a truly powerful man. He is controlled by the need to feel safe. Strong leaders do the opposite. They keep sharp, capable people close, even those who challenge them, because they know strength grows through pressure, not comfort. One can pretend to be confident and wear the mask of authority, but your circle always reveals the truth. Show me your company, and I will tell you who you are. You see, folks, the people beside you show your standards. They show your quality. They show your courage and your ambition. Surround yourself with fools, and their mistakes become your failures. Surround yourself with thinkers, and their victories strengthen your rule. Power is never built alone. It is built by the hands you choose to trust. And in the end, the world judges you not only by what you have achieved, but by who stood beside you while you were building it. In our neck of the woods, we will find that many of our people love to bond over gossip. But that does not mean that you are not liked or loved as you are. Oh, yes. You see, any member of this frank-speaking tribe needs to remember always that the same thing others hate you for is the very same thing others love you for. Isn't that interesting? People usually gossip about us, straight shooters, but generally, we have a ton of people who generally support us, but they just happen to be silent. That silence is never bad. My theory is that when people love something, they keep it close. And when they hate something, they push it away. The reason why people love to bond over gossip is because when they are feeling these negative emotions, they want to release them from their system. That release of bad energy is done through spreading it to others. Think, when you are angry, folks, what do you really need? To let out the anger, right? Of course. You see, you have a need to remove it further away from you. So when you love something, you cherish it. You keep it close. You keep it protected. Notice when you have a crush on someone, you don't want that to spread around to everybody. No, you have a need to keep it as close as to you as possible. That's a positive feeling that you are having about something. There are loads of people who feel that way about people like us, truth tellers, believe it or not. And of late, I am meeting up with them, you know. Universal ordering is causing our paths to cross, as if to convince me that I'm correct to be on the consistent track that I am on. Those people who are inspired by you, and they will keep you close. The ones who are secure and brave enough will always come and tell you. Those people that are just kinda know you, and they don't know how you are going to react, or they probably keep it to themselves. So if people are slandering you or gossiping about you, whether they are friends or foes, family or relatives, or just the man or woman down the road, bear this in mind, folks. Hatred is just loud, but it could never be more than love. Folks, our political campaign for the next general election, which the opposition expects to be called by June of this year, 1 year ahead of its constitutionally due date in 2027, seems to have started. Clong season open, folks. It is because of that ardent belief of the opposition that they hurriedly launch their best efforts at candidates, oh Gid, showing off themselves as a bunch that is not even fit for a race to the outhouse. Folks, it was Plato who said, quote, "The heaviest penalty for declining to rule is to be ruled by someone inferior to yourself," unquote. This is manifesting itself here in Grenada, and I dare say the region, with little to no sign of abating because of how apathetic our people have become when it comes to actively participating in politics. And this is really sad, a sad reality. In fact, even the decent among us who brave the storm to present themselves to participate are targets of smut and grime from those who ought not present themselves together with their supporters and followers. What do I say to that? Oh, Gede. It has acted as a turn-off in the main for all who might have been interested in throwing their hats in the ring to make some meaningful contribution to the development of their nation. It's amazing that so many miscreants proceed to line up to criticize decent, well-meaning people when they themselves are not worthy for anything, let alone putting themselves out to be used by the inferiors they support against decency for their own country. Plato's primary argument regarding being ruled by idiots and fools is that it is a direct consequence of the wise or capable citizens refusing to participate in politics or to take on leadership roles for whatever reason. And that is precisely why he proffered that the penalty for this apathy is being governed by people who are inferior to oneself. But we should ask, what is the cause? If good, honorable, and intelligent citizens refuse to participate in politics, they allow a power vacuum that is filled by those who are incompetent, corrupt, or just plain fools. This has been our experience here in Grenada, especially between 1995 and 2022, for the most part, with the most guilty entity insisting on presenting similarly as if to remain consistent. Folks, among their hurriedly put together hodgepodge nonsense, people's salad, the 15 members of that salad that they put together there, I am seeing one who is probably 20 years shy of 100. What he doing in there? You ever see somebody, one of the older people in Grenada today, on their cell phone? I want to demonstrate it for you. Watch them. You could take a little child, a little toddler, and give him your phone and it's locked, and he could open it. He can't articulate how he did it, but he could do it though. But these are the people that want to stick around and say they want to be leader. Leader of what? In the 21st century? Take a seat. Go and sit down. You should have invested the spoils and the largesse when you had the opportunity to collect it, so that you don't have to be rummaging and scrummaging around to see if you could get back around the precincts of our treasury. Hello? But what is the penalty, folks? You see, the foolish rulers often act out of self-interest, seeking personal gain rather than the common good. Again, we are not strangers to this here in Grenada. From the same period, 1995 to 2022, for the most part. What is the solution, though? Plato argues that the best people should not seek power for themselves, but must be willing to accept the responsibility of leadership to prevent the worst inferior people from seizing control. To illustrate this, Plato uses the metaphor or the allegory of the ship of fools to describe a dysfunctional state. On this ship, the owner, who is the people, strong but deaf and short-sighted, while the crew, politicians, fight over control of the helm, even though they know nothing about navigation. They ignore the true navigator, the philosopher, the expert, because they believe navigation is not a skill that can be learnt, leading to a disastrous voyage. Folks, and we had a disastrous voyage from 1995 to 2022 for the most part. And that is one of the reasons why the longest serving administration took us nowhere to be able to celebrate 52 years of national independence. Just nonsense. Their achievements, a large vote farm, putting our young people on welfare and calling it Imani, destroying young people from the age of 18 to all 40 years and 45 years. They're still in the Imani program, stuck at $800 and $1,200 a month. What happened to those people? Their productive years gone to naught because they're just on welfare. Folks, which part of the Bible can we find the statement, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks? I wonder which part. Why am I referring to this here? We all by now should have been privy to the continued mumbling, jumbling, and bungling of the old nastiness, who in his desire to remain relevant insists on sticking around to complete the prophecy of Herbert Blair's, what goes around comes around. Ode to the power of not knowing when to leave the stage in the midst of stares, silent gazes, even end in violently annoying boos for the same thing they once loved you for. That folks, that had to be some sad nonsense, that real sad, But just because you did not know when the show was over, you're ending in humiliation. Folks, take a listen to the following. Get ready to laugh. Hold your belly. Bang your belly. Which has been making the rounds with everyone putting their own spin on it, reducing the subject to the chief clown as clown season opens. What a better way to open the said season. Listen to this, folks. You'll laugh until you cry.
Here it comes. Oh, here it comes. The NDC team may be bad, but the fundamental problem is the leadership of the new national party. Here it comes. Oh, here it comes. The NDC team may be bad, but the fundamental problem is the leadership of the new national party.
Folks, that's a real interesting situation there. Listen to it again.
Here it comes. Oh, here it comes. The NDC team may be bad, but the fundamental problem is the leadership of the new national party. Here it comes. Oh, here it comes. The NDC team may be bad, but the fundamental problem is the leadership of the new national party.
And said it with such confidence. Huh? Folks, they always say when you dig in hole, grave for people, make sure you dig another one for yourself. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? The locksmith lockup is sad, man. The exact phrase, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, appears in Matthew 12:34 and Luke 6:45. All relevant search results consistently confirm this dual location. You see, Matthew 12:34 says, brood of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And that's according to the King James Version of the Bible. But Luke 6:45 also alludes to that particular verse. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good. For out of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks. You see, both verses teach the same principle. Speech reveals the heart, but appear in different contexts. Matthew words or records Jesus rebuking the Pharisees, while Luke places it within the Sermon on the Plain. Folks, let me just remind you, truth does not bend to popularity, and morality is not decided by numbers. Just remember that. Let's take a little break here and we'll come right back with some more.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. So let's see if we can do some home stretching here now. Prepare yourself for a little bit of a marathon. Folks, the launch of the candidates of the National Nasty Party reflects two things: a bit of haste to appear to be ready in the event the election is called, and secondly, the lack of ability to attract proper talent in keeping with the transformation our political landscape should be shaped by. I'm not going to be one to criticize for the sake of criticizing, especially as I have no intention of presenting myself alternatively. That ship has sailed. All I ask our people to do is to remain awake, to see that the
Father Aaron Albert Smith has issued a full warning to journalists and media workers.
Sorry, folks. So let's get this again. All I'm asking people to do is to basically remain awake, to see that that script is the same as the irrelevant texts of the smutty and dusty playbook of the old nastiness. The choices, therefore, reflect that particular geography very well. Our mostly youthful population need to stay the course and remain on the side of the team that looks like them and can be trusted to lead them, because they have their future in priority when it comes to their policies and programs. And that is, of course, the Deacon Mitchell-led team. If the majority of our population reflect a little over 60% being under 35 years of age, it is of utmost importance that the current Deacon Mitchell administration seek to take the large swath of them put on the dole by the last insipid, bad-minded administration under the guise of a youth program called Imani, which had no end, condemning them to eternal damnation, and instead empower them through the youth economy concept, where they could develop and truly grow so they can be useful to the society and economy as a whole, let alone themselves. Folks, truth does not bend to popularity, and morality is not decided by numbers. If we were to ask God, whether in jest or in seriousness, the following questions, listen carefully for the answer you might receive. Why am I surrounded by so many idiots, enemies, and doorways? The answer may very well be because thieves do not break into empty houses. The opposition you receive proves you're carrying something very valuable. But why are they speaking lies against my name and against decent people of our society? The answer you might get, because their noise is training you to hear only the voice that matters, mine. And you know that mine, of course, is God's voice. You are being taught to stand tall when the world wants you to bow. But why is the battle so heavy? Why must I appear to have to be fighting every single day? What do you think the answer might be? Because you are not being raised to be a victim, but to be a king. You are not created to fit in. You're created to stand out. The weight of the hatred of others is building the muscle of your character. But you may even be tempted to seek the power to destroy your enemies and the fools and the idiots and the doorways. But you know what God will tell you? You will develop the power to forgive them. True power is not found in retaliation. It is actually found in peace. Folks, an interesting phenomenon about us few, blessed with an indomitable spirit. There are very few genuinely centered people left among us who are self-connected. Very few real people left in this world today, folks. Too many people are existing merely as a type, an archetype. They do things like fitness or meditation, or they even say they are into spirituality, not with the intention of going within, but simply to assume an identity so they can be part of a group. Evolutionarily speaking, that makes them feel safe. They're doing it for survival and not really for spirituality or fitness. so they can assume an identity so they don't have to be who they really are. And they join the many who have no idea who they are for themselves to criticize the few truly authentic beings. So for someone who is awakened or embodied, it is easy to notice the patterns of people mimicking falseness and fakeness and even foolishness. Too many people exist as a type, a fitness type, a foodie type, a spiritual type, spirituality type, a boundaries type, with very few being genuine or authentic. Too many people are living in the deepest illusion, where everything they were and are being taught is a lie. Awakening is the moment you realize that religion, schooling, culture, the rules, all these were literally built to program us, to disconnect us from source, our own inner truth, from the living eternal spirit within us. You see, the matrix thrives on disconnecting people. It was designed like that because the more disconnected we are, is the easier we are to control and manipulate. The more disconnected we are, we feed our fear. We feed our drama, our addiction, our pain, and we are misaligned from the divine source. You see, we are tricked into destroying ourselves, mumbling and jumbling here and there, while we numb our hearts, destroying our connection to our divinity. You see, we scroll, we fight, we gossip, we banter and compete. And every time we do, we are fueling the very darkness we are crying out to be saved from. This is where that instinct of awareness helps us to flip the script, where we stop feeding the lie and start feeding our own light. It is the moment we stop outsourcing our own power and start embodying the truth. It is the moment we remember that we are source. We are God in this vessel, this body, this form. It is in that remembrance that everything changes. Folks, you see how much time I have? Because I have jettisoned so much baggage, so much old fake people around, that I have enough time to become at one. Isn't that something? You see where the head is? You see where the mind is? You see what feeds the confidence that I come to you with? I have time to analyze. I have time to process. Isn't that interesting? You see how much one can elevate when one stays focused and at one with truth? You can't if you are weighed down by the noise of this world, surrounded by all the actors who give life to the saying, fake it till you make it, even though the only success they end up with is perfecting the art of faking. I thank God for my consciousness to choose the solitarily beneficial life that I live right here in Grenada, in this world, in my little corner, staying in my lane, enjoying a great standard of living and quality of life while being eternally grateful. Folks, you see that dog I post from time to time? Lord have his mercy. I never thought it was possible to love something as much as I love that dog. And the more I experience my dog, is the more I feel the need to stay away from people. I stumbled upon someone on Instagram recently who was articulating something I disjointedly thought about for some time. In fact, he put it in continuous prose, and I felt duty bound to share it. He's none other than Acharya Prashant, who said, quote, "You want to know why religions fight with each other? it is because they are based on belief. Interestingly, he said, scientists do not fight because it doesn't matter where they are coming from or where they are based. The facts of science remain the same, constant. Science across countries and cultures collaborate. They never fight. Whereas religions across cultures and countries continuously fight. You see what happens when beliefs and stories do not match? Fights result. Belief is influenced by traditions and came down through the ages like that. When they clash, they almost always end in fight. Belief breeds insecurity, and insecurity thrives in the absence of truth. So when different people have differences of belief, they're likely to fight and kill each other in their quest to assert their own belief. Belief systems breed violence. Truth ought not breed violence, because truth is the same for all of us, while belief is always different for all of us. You see, nobody knows anything. All they know is what they believe. And then they mix up spirituality with belief. In fact, spirituality is constantly sniffing around for belief. Unquote. You see, truth does not bend to popularity, and morality is not decided by numbers. I end today, folks, on a sharing of a gentleman whom we have to thank God offered himself to politics. And notwithstanding all the grundigs around, all the lolly drain elements and all the pelts and whatnot that they've been throwing around the place, he has stayed the course. Senator David Andrew of the NDC in Grenada, who was not successful against Emmeline Pear in the St. Andrew Southeast constituency in the 2022 election, is vying again, this time with a much better chance of defeating her if she runs as leader of the National Nasty Party and not just as a candidate, an ordinary member of the main opposition, because you know that is possible. Today, Senator Andrew falls under the spotlight as I seek to give an account of his stewardship as caretaker candidate, NDC, of course, caretaker candidate for that constituency, and his ministerial portfolio in education and human resources. He ought to be referred to as the steadfast steward. Folks, in the high-stakes political landscape in Grenada, Senator David Andrew embodies a unique and powerful duality. He's both the tenacious caretaker of a constituency he has long sought to formally represent, and the architect-in-chief of the nation's most foundational system, its human capital. His journey in St. Andrews Southeast is a story of unwavering commitment, while his leadership at the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development is a testament to the Deacon Mitchell administration's commitment to transformative long-term investment. Taking young people off welfare and empowering them through the youth economy by exposing them to worthwhile education that would embolden them to take charge of their own lives and destiny is a contrast from what they grew accustomed to under the old guard of the visionless National Nasty Party that saw them as a demographic to capture and place on their vote farm, mangling them for the rest of their lives. You see, even before his pivotal 2022 defeat, David Andrews' role as an NDC's standard bearer in St. Andrew Southeast was never that of an absent or seasonal candidate. Following his earlier campaign, he transitioned seamlessly into the role of a de facto caretaker, operating on a powerful principle: service should not be contingent on a title, win or lose. His stewardship has been characterized by consistent presence. Andrew maintained a visible and active profile in the constituency, attending community events, funerals, church services, not as a campaigning politician, but as a committed community member. This built a reservoir of goodwill and trust that transcended political cycles. He's just a decent man, a decent human being. Advocacy and bridge building. He functioned as a critical conduit between the constituency's needs and the affordable, though limited, resources of the NDC. You see, by documenting and vocalizing local issues, from infrastructural deficits to agricultural concerns, he kept the area's challenges in, of course, the national discourse and prepared the groundwork for accelerated action should the political landscape really shift. He's well prepared. Why? He is a man of good character. Kerry Ann Worm, thank you very much. As I put my head up, I saw that. Isn't that something? Beautiful. Thank you. Shirley and Mark, we wish him victory. In whose name? Jesus' name. You see, building the machine. His work involved quietly strengthening the constituency's NDC apparatus, mentoring young party activists, and ensuring the organizational foundation was robust. This caretaker period was, in effect, a long strategic preparation to govern. You see, this diligent, behind-the-scenes stewardship was crucial in allowing him to successfully ride the wave he is seemingly at the crest of today. You see, with the consistent change in the national mood, the people of St. Andrews Southeast are not about to choose a stranger. They are affirming a known and persistent advocate. But as Minister of Education and Human Resources, David Andrew has applied the same principle of long-term investment to his portfolio, understanding that true transformation in education and human resources is a generational project, not a quick fix. His tenure has been marked by strategic moves to break cycles of underperformance and dependency. Curriculum revolution, the new school. You see, he has been a leading voice in ambitious push to decolonize and modernize the Grenadian curriculum. This shift from rote learning to competency-based, technology-integrated education is a direct attempt to build a workforce and citizenry equipped for the 21st century, aligning with the administration's core theme of building self-reliant builders through genuine transformation. Well, what about the focus on early childhood and TVET? Recognizing that the foundation determines the strength of the structure, Senator Andrew has prioritized investment in early childhood education. Simultaneously, he has championed technical and vocational education and training, TVET, directly linking education to economic empowerment and reducing youth unemployment, a key vulnerability his transformative government seeks to address. Human resource development and national policy. His ministry has worked to better align national education outputs with the projected needs of the economy. This involves fostering partnerships with the private sector and creating pathways for Grenadians to access high-skill, high-value opportunities, moving beyond the traditional academic focus to a holistic human resource development strategy. Of course, the challenge to implementation. Like all complex ministries, progress is measured in policy papers, teacher training, infrastructure upgrades that are less immediately visible than paved roads. His test is communicating this quiet revolution effectively to a public eager for tangible results. In the midst of all of this is the challenge of the lack of human talent. Senator Andrew eyes a 2027 rematch. His dual record creates a formidable platform. His narrative is one of proven multi-level stewardship. Against a candidate, he can point to his hyper-local persistent care for St. Andrew Southeast. Against the opposing party leader, this contrast becomes his greatest strategic advantage. He can position himself as a full-time focused representative versus a national opposition leader whose attention is fractured across 15 constituencies and mired and perceived in fighting and wrangling within our own organization, with the oldster acting as puppeteer, pulling the strings to have his way. You see, Senator Andrews' message will be, my only ministry, folks, to his constituents, that is, my only ministry is you. And my work in the National Ministry of Education proves I can deliver for our local future. You see, in essence, David Andrew is no longer just a challenger. He is an incumbent senator with a national portfolio and a caretaker turned candidate with deep local roots. His 2027 campaign will be a referendum on which type of leadership St. Andrew Southeast values most. His 2027 campaign will be a referendum on which type of Christian St. Andrew Southeast values most. Hello? Divided national attention? He does not have that. Acrimonious character with a track record of years as elected representative with no evidence of or effort to develop constituents tangibly? He can't boast of that. Or consolidated local advocacy backed by proved ministerial competence. Hello? That's where he's strong. Folks, Senator Andrew represents the NDC's promise of hands-on, transformative governance in its most potent form. We have to remember, had David Andrew a little more time to enter the trenches during the 2022 campaign, he could have clinched a victory against his opponent, who the record shows, folks, listen carefully, won by 233 votes, even though he joined the campaign late. But interestingly, that opponent came down to 233 votes against David Andrew, from 832 in 2013 and 1,160 in 2018 against Patrick Simmons, both. I rest my case. You see the trend. A jump from 2013 from 832 to 1,160 in 2018. But a drastic drop, a fall to 233 in 2022, with Mr. David Andrew being announced very late because he had to tidy up his public service situation before severing altogether. You see why I hold my point? Had he a little more time to enter the trenches during that 2022 campaign, it would have been a wrap. Again, I rest my case. Folks, the wind of change favors a victory for David Andrew. A victory we must order providentially. In that constituency, whenever the elections are called. Again, I rest my case. I am in, I'm out, and I'm gone. Thank you for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time, same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant, and stay lifted. Stay focused too. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. Oh man. By name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. Nothing fake. Subscribe, like, share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as directly as I deliver them. Until next time, stay curious, stay frank. And for goodness sake, remember, set your boundaries. But I leave you with this last word. Do not be derailed. Stay focused. Do not let the noise in the market rattle your cage. It surely doesn't rattle mine. I don't think it rattles Akim's, Lydia's, Sawandi's, Andrea's, Shirley Ann, Rondell, Theo. You getting the message? Hello? Jocelyn's. I don't think it rattles Dollis's cage. Cheryl, you getting the message? Folks, watch it. Everything is going to be good. Providential ordering has already lined up. Stay the course. Continue to speak positively. Continue to focus on the prize. And the prize is looking very attractive. All the best to you folks. Have a happy week. And whatever you do this week, remember to do it for Grenada. Grenada needs your love, your focus, and your attention. Peace and blessings. All the best.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family. So every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.